It's 6:05. You're going to start. Okay, hello. My name is Javier. I'm one of your officers. Today, I have a bunch of incredible professors from different majors and disciplines to kind of share their experiences with you through the form of some hopefully broad enough questions that everyone can kind of answer to what they feel they know the best. I'd like to first have you guys introduce yourselves and your majors and some of the classes that you guys teach.
Hi, my name is Adriana Garcia. I come from the background of specifically the animation industry. I did storyboarding, character design, production design, and I was a professor in the animation department for 6 years, and now I am in the illustration department. So, yeah.
I'm Robert Atkins, so I'm one of the advisors for the club. So if you don't know me, then hey, here's a face to a name kind of thing. I'm in the sequential art department here in Adler, and my background's doing a lot of comics, mostly for kind of mainstream Marvel, DC stuff, and then did a lot in video games and like toy design with some storyboarding. So the classes I teach, it's kind of all through the whole sequential department, sometimes in illustration too, but generally kind of everything. So.
Hi, I'm Dennis Robinson, Professor Robinson. I am the other, what do you call him? What? Advisor. Other advisor. And where was I? Yes, so I teach in the illustration. I did take illustration when I was in you all's position. And once I graduated, I started working for storyboarding for commercials, as well as doing character designs. And also, I still love illustration. So illustrated for books, book covers, things like that. So my path is kind of, I'll pivot a lot. And I also am a professor that teaches in animation the 345, which is storyboarding, as well as 335, which is creature and character, and 275, I teach a 275 capstone. Just, you'll see me. Hey.
I'm Kari Christensen, illustration department. My background is I started in games, went from started working with Warhammer 40K, and then went more into illustration stuff, and then concept art has took me for working in game studios, but then also some feature film stuff and also commercial stuff. And then also I like to paint as well. So I work on like Magic the Gathering, when I try to do traditional paintings when I can find the time. So that's fun too. And I teach, I'm teaching world building and atmospheric environment this quarter, and another class called Visualizing the Macabre and Divine. So I like spooky stuff.
Hello, I'm Professor Gloria Felix. I'm in the illustration department as well. I teach environment and atmospheric design perspective. That one, 326. 434, the concepting for animation and games. World building and character design. I have a background in visual development for the animation industry for the most part, but I started as a background artist for animation. I don't know, people from Mexico or Latin America know Betty a la Verge. It's a very silly YouTube series that's really, really popular over there. And and I have done like freelance for Pixar and Nickelodeon. Yeah, those are like the biggest ones. Yeah.
Super cool. You guys are all so cool.
Well, maybe you should just hang on.
So my next question for you guys, and you can take your time with this one. For a student looking to maximize their electives, which specific class in your department offers the most value for someone who might be in a different major?
We're gonna fight.
We were just talking about it a little bit before class started, but you can, it's not called cross-listing, but you can basically like substitute a class. So if you want to curate your degree, obviously we have a curriculum and the curriculum's there for a reason, right? And you kind of go through that. But if there's a class that you think has maybe more value for what you want to do very specifically in another major, it's worth looking into that, talking to a department chair, and your success advisor. So I think some of the classes we're going to talk about might be something that you're really interested in. Say you're in animation and you also wanted to build a portfolio doing storyboarding or comics or something like that, right? So then you could take a class in Sequa and but anyway, so there's a little bit of back and forth. The wonderful thing is all of our departments are all about visual storytelling in some form or another. So there's so much crossover between them. For Sequa, we have, and there's probably a comparative class in all of these majors. We have conceptual illustration for Sequa. So it's very much world building where you're going to build a portfolio that is, you kind of start a world from scratch and you do like characters, creatures, props, vehicles, environments. And then by the end, you kind of have at least a foundational level portfolio. But by doing all those, you can see which ones you really love and which ones you really hate, or which ones you need to get better at, right? Strictly like storytelling, we have a lot of great electives like fantasy illustration. I teach a superhero class, which is a blast. And so my favorite is in fantasy illustration. Then I play D&D with the students. Like I run a D&D game for you guys. And then from that, your assignment is to do illustrations or a comic based on the game we just played. So it's really interactive. It's really fun. But anyway, so if you like D&D, that's a good class to take.
I want to take that class.
I know, you can sit in.
So I think it's a similar thing. I think 434, concepting for animation and video games. I'm just thinking about all the Sequa students I get in that class, and they always knock it out of the park. So if you are really into this type of class where you develop something from scratch to finish, and it's this in this class we focus on time travel. So it's your whole story, but there has to be some time travel happening. So it's really cool because you have to design things from the past and things from the future. And yeah, we do characters, props, and environments. And it's like one of the higher level classes. The students that take that class are usually a little bit more advanced, and it's just like a great space to learn from everybody. I had Cassian a couple quarters ago, and it was amazing. So yeah, that one.
Yeah. So kind of a kind of introduction to that class is 319 world building, where you adapt an existing story to your own IP, and once again you get to go through all the different parts of concepting, from characters to props to environments. So yeah, that's kind of the introductory one to that one. Did you have something?
Yeah, we have Steven Silver he's not here today right now, but we have also like, you like props, you like environments, but characters, like we have the best professor in the illustration department for character design. So if you're interested in that, definitely you should take contextual character design, and maybe Adriana's class for creature design too.
Well, I think.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Well, yeah, thank you. I'm teaching 384, which is anatomy and rendering for the real and imagined. So for anybody here who likes animals or creatures, that's your class. So in that class, what we're doing right now is we start with the real, right? So we start with several assignments in which you do fish and amphibian, and then that's the first assignment. The second assignment, you do reptiles, birds, or reptiles, avian dinosaurs or non-avian dinosaurs, and then the next one is mammals, and then the next assignment is your made-up creature, like a fantasy creature, in which you get 3 prompts and you get like of 3 different animals, and you get to create an animal that is realistic or believable, made up, but it's made up. So that's a fun class. That's a fun one. It's a lot of like animal anatomy, but then you make it real. Yeah, it's fun.
I normally, when students ask me that same question, I always tell them, like, what are your strengths? Number one, like, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And then for your weaknesses, that's the ones that I would, as just being as a student, that was the first thing I did with SCAD. I was like, okay, my backgrounds were trash. So immediately I started going to classes that can do that. And so I remember you're going to help me on this one. It was John Lowe's, but it was the master version. It was the environments as props, or props as environment.
Well, environments props is the undergrad, and then I think it's just environments or advanced perspective or something like that for grad. Yeah.
All right. So the other one. So take the environment is care prop thing in John Lowe's class, or whoever else teaches it. Yeah, John. That's a place that you can go if like you really are struggling with backgrounds. I know it helped me out a lot. In the animation department, a couple of things like I teach 345, which is this maybe like the only like full storyboarding course. So basically you get a prompt and you basically take that prompt from basically concept to finish and going through all the different stages in storyboarding. And I always send my storyboard artists to take at least one animation class, like a 202, just to understand how animation works. So you know how to storyboard for animation, because it's different ways. Like you storyboarding for movies, animation, and commercials are completely different things. So at least having an understanding of how animation works, then you know how to board for that. So I always tell them take like the basic 202, things like that. For my concept art students, like that really want to like get better at concept, I always tell them to take it's in 3D, but now it's visual effects, I think, 210, I believe. Yep. 210 is a great way where if you want to understand substance, I know y'all go through substance, modeling assets and things like that, and how to put those textures on that. So if you want to, because again, in concept art or story and concept, right now, understanding 3D is a big thing. It's going to set you apart from just anyone else that's just doing, I just do concept. That's cool. But learning that 3D world only helps you with your actual concept itself. But then at the same time, you have some more skills underneath your belt. And lastly, I always tell students, like, when you come to SCAD, like, try, especially with your electives, try to take classes that is going to get you out of the box. Like, spend your money wisely, I like to say. Like, take classes, like take a 3D class if you wouldn't take a 3D class by yourself, because you have someone there guiding you. You have a professor that's going to help you to understand the program. Because, I mean, if y'all didn't come to school, I'm pretty sure all of y'all will continue drawing, right? Right. So that's it.
Yeah. Sweet. Also wise. All right. Next question for you guys. What is one tip you wish students focused on more when building a portfolio? And you can take your time with this one too. I know it's kind of like.
So I just have kind of quick advice that I generally give students overall is you kind of want, now everybody might have a different opinion here. So if you don't like the advice, just ignore it. But generally you want kind of, I kind of call it a pillared portfolio. So you have like 3 strong projects that show kind of beginning to end world building, right? So it kind of shows your strengths, what you're good at. Like this is like production ready projects, right? So ultimately that's what's going to get you hired. But you'll burn yourself out if you're only working on these big, epic kind of world building projects. So you want to do something fun and quick, just to challenge yourself to try a new skill or do something different. And so these are kind of like in between these 3 major pillars, you'll have 2 projects that are just quick and fun. It could be fan art or licensed stuff, or it could be just a chance to work in a different style. And then that way you're not always just working on these giant projects that you feel like it's almost never ending, right? And then on top of that, then we keep a rolling portfolio. So the idea is after you finish though, you have your 3 pillars and your 2 fun projects that are quick. And then you look at all that and you say, which is the worst part of all of these, right? And then you're going to redo that, whether it's a pillar or an in-between the filler, right? And then that way you're just constantly revolving and kind of rotating your portfolio over. So it's like a live portfolio that's always evolving as you go. So that way you don't get stuck in just one big pitch or one big project. And if that doesn't get picked up, then you're kind of spinning your wheels. Like you have multiple large projects that show different strengths. And in our department, you do a lot of pitching, right? You're going to pitch a comic book series, or you're going to pitch a project that could get picked up. And so you don't want to just have one big pitch. You want to have 2 or 3 that people can look at.
Thank you. Drawing more from life, just like a ton of live drawing. Go every Friday. There's a ton of live drawing opportunities. So go to all of those workshops, but actually like from live, not just photos from Pinterest. Or I love the website Line of Action. It's great for when you're not able to go out. But if you guys can go to like all the live model events. And going to coffee shops and like literally just like draw what you see, draw the people. It's a great city to people watch. There's like so much diversity in the people here in Savannah. Draw your classmates. You are also diverse. We're also diverse. And draw people from different ages, like children, older people. When we are in college, like you want to draw yourselves, your friends, like people that look like you. But it's important that you show diversity in your portfolio. So yeah, younger children and older people as well. And just not trying to copy what you see, but putting more of your life experiences in your work. You should always start with what you know, like drawing what you know. And yeah, even if you think that your experiences aren't that interesting, someone is going to connect with that. And your art is just going to be way better if you start with some like the type of backgrounds that you grew up with, or the type of like your grandma drawing her, all of that, like the stories that you grew up with as a child. I think my portfolio like there was like a huge leap when I started actually like it's getting more inspiration from my culture and my own experiences. And even if you're not, you're not international or whatever, you still like your experience is so unique that it's gonna make your work more special and stand out.
So yeah, just reiterating, life drawing, so it's important to look at the figure and see how perspective and how the body moves in space, especially if you want to do character design, and balance like quick gesture drawing with some longer poses. Even go draw statues. Like at Telfair, they have some nice statues. Once you have a good grip on figure drawing, then you can break those rules. But it gets a little dicey if you're breaking rules, but you're still figuring it out. And then also reiterating, some 3D skill can be super helpful. I've had to draw all sorts of weird stuff I never thought I would have to do, or design crazy stuff. And 3D is super helpful just to understand the form. Yeah, it'll make your portfolio more versatile, and then also you'll be able to tackle just whatever weird, but sometimes fun, but sometimes weird jobs that come your way.
I would say, before, when you're deciding or figuring out the work and things that the things you want to put on your portfolio, sometimes it gets. Well, I'll listen to students and they always say they get burned out really fast, or I want to put this on there, but then I look at someone else's stuff and that stuff is amazing and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, just remember that you as an artist was an artist because it was fun, right? Always remember that it's fun. And even when you are tasked to do another or a different program, if you take that new program in the mindset, look, I'm going to learn something and it's going to be fun, and keep telling yourself, I guess you say, telling yourself that why you became an artist in the first place, right? And then once you encapsulate that, I feel like once you look, I know me, every time I get an artist block, things like that, I don't know what to put in my portfolio, what to work on to put in my portfolio. I start thinking about what are the things that made me excited about art in the first place. I don't know how many people love anime. I do. So I'll go back to remembering what was that anime intro when I was a kid that sparked my creativity, that made me feel like, oh my gosh, I want to draw this, right? So even before starting to put all your work on there, all your work on your portfolio, think about how fun it was to draw it. And ultimately, if you're having fun doing it, people are going to resonate with your artwork because it's going to have something authentic about it. It's going to have something that's fun about it. People like looking at fun work, or looking at work that people put their passion and fun in it. So my takeaway from that is basically, as you are working on your pieces, just think about how fun it was. And that way it won't feel like burnout. It'll feel like you're just doing something else that's fun that you love to do.
That's great. All great advice. I think what I would add to this is also be strategic. Remember, when you do your portfolio, it's always best to have quality rather than quantity. When I say strategic, is if you have a specific studio or company that you're interested in, if you're not sure what you could do, like new things that you could add to your portfolio, a great way of going about it is to do reverse engineering. So, for example, look up people who are there that have the job that you want, and research them and see the portfolio. If you can, like, it's very easy to basically cyberstalk their portfolio, not cyberstalk them, but take a look at the pieces of art that they've shared that have helped them get into the industry, right? Especially when you look at somebody that is on a starting role within that company, it gives you a good idea of what they're looking for or what calls the attention of that specific company or studio. So I think that's a a nice little thing to keep in mind. Yeah.
Good advice. I think my next question for you guys would be more about your specific department. Is there a specific event or resource that students can leverage, no matter what major they're in, that could potentially help them or set them apart, or in whether it be portfolio wise or networking wise?
So for CEQA, we have 3 major events through the year. In the fall, we have Mini Comics Expo, which you can sign up to table at, and I know they do stuff similar at illustration department, but and that's just a chance to get the experience to exhibit your work and to display your work. Then in the winter, we have Comics Art Forum, which it's not just comics, but we bring down usually a panel of professionals from a variety of industries: storyboard artists, comic artists, vertical scroll, concept artists. And then they'll do workshops and then a panel discussion. So you don't have to be a CEQA major to attend any of those. They do portfolio reviews, and I think for Comics Art Forum, you do have to be CEQA to get a portfolio review. But in the spring, we have Editors Day, which I know in illustration they have an art directors event, very similar. And they'll be looking mostly for sequential, like pages or storyboards, but they do hire a lot of illustrations for cover art. And right now, that's about the easiest way to kind of break into the comics industry, is to do covers with all the variant covers that are made. So there's room there certainly for illustrators, and then also for storyboard artists. If they want to get looked at from an art director, we usually bring at least one art director down for storyboarding for Editors Day, and usually at least one storyboard artist for Comics Art Forum too.
Yeah, I think we have similar events, and we put them all in the same week. In the spring, it just passed. It's our Directors Week. It's awesome. We bring like a 5 or 7 concept art directors from all over the country, and they give portfolio reviews. So everyone's welcome to submit, and we have the Illustration Expo, and you're all welcome to submit your work as well. We do have another a gallery show for international students. So if you're an international student, next year you can apply to that as well. But yeah, I think the Art Directors Week is our biggest event. Do we have anything else? We always have a mentor visiting every quarter. So just like make sure that you're signed up on Blackboard in the illustration community or in the animation community, on all of that, because there's so many amazing visitors. We just had John Pomeroy come to our classes. So maybe you cannot join in the classes, right? But the workshops, you can definitely all go.
Demos. We had so Eve Schuyler did an awesome and that's your friend, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, she did an awesome demo. We worked in a little Blender, and I was like, yes, okay, this is. And I like to get my students working on Blender and ZBrush. So yeah, great demos last Friday.
Trying to think.
Nothing.
I know. Yeah, I was like, I just see my face. I was like, wait, okay. I will say we do have a lot of mentors that come through, and it's spontaneous. So it's not like I can pinpoint. It just happens. But I would say outside of concept art,
SCAD Animation Studios. I forgot.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to get ready to say. Yeah, but I didn't know if okay. Santa. We do have Santa. SANIM is good if you want to work collaboratively. I didn't want to mention it because like you get okay. So this is how SANIM works, and I'll make it quick. All right. So basically, professor has an idea, and then students work at it's like right now. Immortals is the SANIM project right now, and basically Professor Schmeeg and Chair Warman, not Warman, Weber had an idea. They come and they take students, they submit their portfolios. They see if the portfolio is like what the needs for the actual project that they're working on. Right now, they're doing like almost like to a music video type of vibe, and there's a lot of action in it. So they were looking for a concept artist that will fit that role to do the concept work for it. They also had animators that was good at doing action. So and Immortals will be viewed in the spring.
It'll be at the showcase.
Yes, the spring showcase, which brings me to the spring showcase. If you want to see like sees things like Immortals as well as student films, you can go to the end of the year showcase, which is always that Wednesday and Thursday of the last week of May, whatever those dates are, because I don't know right now. But so basically SANIM is one, but again, you have to, it's not for all students. All students can apply, but it also depends on the style of work you have, what you have compared to what they're looking for in the vision of the film.
I highly recommend. It's kind of hard to pinpoint, but if you can somehow track down the professor that's
Yes.
doing the next year's SANIM, talk to them and be the right kind of annoying, because a lot of times that will get you onto the project without having to necessarily be combed through. Yeah, and also any major can do SANIM.
Yes, any major can do SANIM. And also,
No, you're good. Keep going.
Also, to Javi's point, also just know animation professor. A lot of times what that professor would do is like, hey, do you know a great storyboard artist? Do you know a great concept artist or that you think will fit the film? I'm like, oh, I have one. And so it's things like that. So it's networking actually. So networking supports.
Sweet. Oh, amazing. My next question for you guys, I think we can all agree that getting and giving good critique is one of the most important skills for students to learn. In your opinion, what makes the most productive kind of critique?
I think being willing to for critique and for this creative ideas, you just sounds like improv. Like you just gotta like go with the idea that it's being presented and think of how to improve it and just like being positive. Yeah, it's great if you don't like it, but just like think of ways of how to make it better and say it in a nice way. And then, yeah, you just want to be the kind of person that people want to have over when they do their bigger meetings and just like people will want to work with you. You don't want to be like, oh, this is so amazing, because like what? That's not good for anything, right? But yeah, just stay positive and be objective and think about like what is needed and not so much of what you like about something.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, being open to critique. Also, like I've had art directors suggest usually art directors know what they're talking about, and it's great. Sometimes if I'm a little like, maybe that could work with maybe something else work, I'll show the art director, don't ignore an art director, but just show them your alternative idea. And then sometimes that can help moderate. There's a question, and I think that's the same thing with your feedback, working with professors too. It can be collaborative, but yeah, be open to it. The ideas we're all trying to help them out, make you better.
Normally, I just tell my students always think of it as like what's working and what can be improved, right? Think of it like as you critique, like put yourself in that person's shoes and like, hey, if I was doing this, what could I do to like improve this or improve that? Stay away from like words like, oh, that's cool. Cool is or oh, that's nice or it's pretty. Like those are like words that like, okay, it's cool and here is why. Like elaborate on it. That way, cool, and cool, and so then that way, a person can like get like a good critique and help improve their work. And that's because again, at the end of the day, we critiquing, so getting someone else to look at your work. That because after you look at it for like 12 hours or so, getting someone else to look at your work is for child. And being open to that critique, like okay, like and being realistic, like you all know your step was like okay, it's only about to start over. I can't start over. I have a deadline. So you basically take what critiques you can and apply those in the time limit you have, and try not to, take all the critique in, but then knowing how to, take the advice and the things that's not going to apply at the time that you're working on it right now in school, because once you start it in, you still work on it.
Yeah, I like that you're talking about like, how to give critiques, but also how to receive them. It's really important. If anybody's interested in teaching, like this is good practice now, like giving good feedback and taking visual concepts, expressing them vocally, right? But also, if you want to be an art director, at any point, I'm just working as an art director right now, and I'm just like, this is exactly like teaching. I feel like I'm doing the exact same job in the classroom as I am as an art direct project. So ultimately, you want to look at it. Okay, first off, understand if they want feedback. If they want feedback, then give them like serious feedback and be honest and be nice about it. But be honest with them, and so on your end, if you be willing to receive feedback, just like you said it, right? Because again, we can all improve, every single one of us. All right, now then I would say as far as what kind of feedback to give, start at the ground level first. Like in all of our departments, a project fails if it's not clear, right? If you don't understand the story, you don't understand what's happening, the composition is muddled, something, if it's not clear, that's foundational. So what advice could you give that would help make something more clear to read? Now, if it's nice, clear composition, the story flows nicely, then what are other like foundational concepts of like anatomy, perspective, basic style, language that they've created? And is that consistent, right? Well, if those foundational things aren't consistent, that's the next thing to work on. If all the critiques you're giving is like, well, here's a tiny tangent, or maybe I might color shift this and then it'll look perfect. That's basically a house that's crumbling with a poor foundation. You're like, let's paint the shutters. Like that doesn't really help, you know what I mean? Like it's surface level critique. So at a certain point, your peers and yourself will get at or very near that professional level. And when you're at that stage, then the critiques do become very nitpicky. And that's good and positive for you. It means that you've got your foundation really strong, right? Things are clear, anatomy, perspective, style is all consistent. And then you're just making those surface level creative choices that might adjust, and then recognize those critiques are going to be more subjective, more opinionated. Like, well, this is how I would do it. Now, not everybody's great at distinguishing, hey, here's a subjective critique, here's an option, instead of just saying, you should change this. So on the receiving end, you have to be aware, like, is that subjective, meaning it's their opinion, or is it objective, meaning it's foundational, something I should change? Well, you can tell if you got that same piece of feedback 2, 3, 4 times, well, then it's objective, right? It's foundational, and it's something you should change. If it's just one off, you're like, okay, thanks. And you're like, I'm done with that. You know, as soon as you hear it. But it just takes a lot of kind of common sense, but if you haven't heard that, then something to be mindful of.
Those are all great advice. I also think quintessential aspect of it is stay curious. And I think another thing that is very important is to understand that I think vulnerability is the birthplace of creativity. So there is no being creative if you don't make yourself vulnerable, which means that sometimes getting feedback or getting critique is not easy, but it's quintessential. It's not only quintessential for your personal growth and for the good of the project, but like you have to understand that like it's never really personal, that there is a specific role for every project, right? So the fact that you get feedback doesn't mean that that person is criticizing you. It means that it's not where the site or where the goal of the project is headed. So I think the more curious you get, the more hungry you get for feedback, to whether it's providing it or like not leaving any rocks unturned, give options, right? Don't just have like option 1 if you're presenting samples, you can say like, here's what I did. Oh, I did this as well. I think it's always great to not leave any rusty train.
Yeah, yeah, something. Yeah, this just gets my ideas going. Get comfortable doing draw overs for each other. I started doing that in my class more, where I just like make you guys give each other draw overs. And it's just like, it's gonna prefer you to be our directors. And as long as both of you know that this is what's happening and you both agree, it's great. And it's just, I almost pretend that you're a teacher, you're an art director, and make a list of like, what's the most important thing and what's gonna make this piece look more finished or closer to finished. And you like, this, do that, move this here, move that, like with a red brush. Don't do it if they didn't ask for it. Don't just grab things on the discussion board and paint over that. It's not nice. But yeah, do more of that. I was gonna say something else, but I think but yeah, it's good. It's good to get comfortable giving critiques and receiving them. Oh yes. So you are students. Maybe you are not thinking so much about the resources that you have, which is usually like money and time. So sometimes we give critiques like everybody has all the time in the world and all the money in the world to do. Like in studios, you have to be very specific about critiques because you have a deadline, you have a client that you need to like, it has to be done for tomorrow, and the day ends in 2 hours. So you just have to be very specific about like, what's going to make this piece look as finished as you can with the time that you have, the resources that you have. So yeah, just like considering that you have a limited time and a limited amount of money.
It's actually really valuable advice. I really like that point. Between everyone here, I'm sure you can all see that there's a wide range of experience in concepting for different kind of pipelines and projects. I think my next question for you guys would be, what would you say are some of the biggest differences designing for different projects and pipelines? And is there anything that sticks out to you as being something that you actually quite enjoy about working in like animation, games, or comics?
So I'll kind of speak to what I have the most experience in, which would be in comics. It's either you're doing it all yourself on the graphic novel, or you're part of a pipeline. Somebody's writing, somebody's doing the line art, then coloring, then lettering. So just being respectful of who else is down the chain for you, because if you take too long in your stage, then it's always going to put the next person in a crunch, and it's not like the deadline change, right? So you just have to communicate and be very aware of where you're at in that pipeline. I think that probably applies to just about everybody. The other thing, and this is important, and it does apply to pipeline too, but also a little bit continuing what Gloria said, is I was just talking to an HR director, and they're saying we actually have a hard time with new graduates because they want every project they do to be like the best thing they've ever made. Right, which makes sense. That sounds like a good ambition. You guys have just come from an environment where you want to get an A on every single assignment. Yeah, you want to create the absolute best work. But the point is, you don't always have that amount of time. And honestly, as an art director, I don't have to turn out like an A-level project for every single project we do. Sometimes it just needs done. And they're happy that it's done. And so it could be a C-level project, so you use kind of the grading system, and they are so happy with that because it's done. But if I have somebody taking too long on a project because mentally a new graduate is A-level stuff, I'm like, no, please just finish. I just need it to turn it. Now, some clients, you need that A-level project. We are impressive. It's going to be like top tier, and it's going to secure more work for the studio. But that's not up to you to decide if you're in the pipeline. That's the art director's decision. So just accomplish the deliverables they gave you. Give them like a solid foundational base level, and then if you have more time, you can embellish. But that's not every single project. That's the reality of the business world. That's not every single project, right? So it's a good mentality, but you don't have to be this perfectionist in your daily job. That's impossible. So especially when I was on monthly comics, like sometimes that book just needed to be done. I knew it wasn't my best work, but it hit the shelves and we moved on to the next project.
When you start working with even if it's a smaller studio or a bigger studio, think it's easier than school in a lot of ways because there's a lot of collaboration going on. And it's so nice to have the production team and the art director making reports for you. So you're not wasting time. I mean, there may be some other things that you want to add for the mood boards, but like the research part is done. You just focus on drawing. So it's good that in school you get all of these tools to do things from scratch, or like making your own projects with your friends. So this is not part of the question, but just collaborate with each other. It's not you don't need to be in the fancy animation project to do something. I think with the paper, because like, instead of like talking and saying like, I need like this for my character, is like another content. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's the exploration. But also when I do backgrounds, sometimes I really don't like drawing backgrounds. So I've done a lot of that. I love that you can be a background painter and someone is gonna
And I had the opposite experience. I was working on design for a feature film for a monster. Did the line art class, and I thought it was pretty good. We were trying to get just like a weird design. I sent it to the
Sorry.
What?
The mic cut off. Yeah, the mic ran out of battery.
Oh, okay. I got an echo there. But yeah, being where the client, I have to say though, like working as a contractor, and so I do work with some clients, like your first shot is your only shot. So you don't want like, if you get a magic card or something like that, nail that first time around, because there's so many people who want to do that. They won't even say anything. You just don't get a call back, which is tough. But it's also awesome because if you want, to do that low quality, then they'll hire you a lot.
I have to agree with Gloria. I think the part of the pipeline I love is the beginning stages where you are throwing ideas. Does this work? Does that work? Yes, and all those things like that. I love that part of it, especially when gotta echo. Especially
Yeah, 1 second.
okay.
There we go. That was through someone else.
Was that?
It's that, yeah. Stop. Sorry.
Stupid microphones died.
Yeah.
This big. Battery's really this big also.
Yep.
Is it ever good? Okay. Where was I? Yeah, the collaborating process of and I think in that is because I love problem solving. That's the biggest thing I love doing, which I think is a skill that students, I know I didn't, think at the time how important it was. Like if you like solving problems no matter what comes your way down the in your specific area of your pipeline. You're gonna have fun problem solving it. Like you're gonna like, oh, even if it's like a new program, like, well, Blender's not super new, but like when Blender came around, like it was like, oh, okay, this is a new program. Let me problem solve. Let me figure it out because this is going to help me along the line. So I think my biggest thing in the pipeline is definitely the first beginning. And of course, everyone loves character design and stuff like that. I know I do. Backgrounds, I really actually have fun doing backgrounds, but just don't give me a lot of them.
Thank you. I think they said it all, but for me personally, I think it's not every single project is different, and every single project has different needs, even if it's in the exact same studio. And if they're, for example, like an animated series, from episode to episode, there will be a bunch of differences because the studio is probably growing, because you get different directors, or because there's a different script writer. So things do change. So I think the main thing here is being flexible and knowing that each project, whether it's like, for example, in one of the studios that I worked at, we went from we would work in animated series, or we do feature films, right? And it's obviously designing a character for like TV series is completely different than the needs for designing a character for something that's full length. So I think it basically is learning to be very versatile and flexible is, I think, your best way to go about it. Yeah.
So I'm super glad the microphone died after I asked my last question. But I wanted to open the floor to you guys if you guys might have any questions, and same goes for those who are joining us online.
I have one.
Amazing. Say it really loud.
Yeah, I will. And then you can reiterate it.
I can repeat it, yeah.
Wonderful. We had someone ask, what are the differences in curating a portfolio when you're trying to do animation or a concept for an animation versus one for a game?
Oh, that's a really good question. So yeah, what differences would be in the portfolio if you're creating a portfolio for animation versus games? Games is such a broad topic, even because you would have a different portfolio depending on the game or the platform of the game. So if it's a mobile app game, that's going to be different than if it's a console game, and if it's a first-person shooter versus, a third-person open world. So you have to kind of be informed in what the format is, and then we can kind of get more specific. But I would say that's first step is there's different kinds of animation, there's different kinds of games, right? So kind of what you were mentioning earlier, find people who are working in that field and how do they represent their work, and then you can emulate, the format of that portfolio is definitely step one, right? But so while I've done a lot of game work, I didn't actually put a portfolio together for that. It really landed in my lap, which was awesome. That can happen after you get into your career, but I've looked at a lot of portfolios, not so much for animation, but for games. And so I'm looking for what's their understanding of 3D, even if it's not a 3D portfolio. Like, would this character design work if it rotated fully? Like, if they've got a sword on their back, does it make sense that they could kind of come out, or do we have to clip through forms to make that happen? And the less we have to break physics to make that character work, then the more functional it's going to look, the more realistic it's going to be, especially in an unbelievable world. We want those mechanics to look realistic. So when I look at 2D portfolios for a 3D finished product, are they thinking three-dimensionally in that two-dimensional drawing? Like, for me, for video games at least, that's important. But I can pass it off to other people who've worked more in those industries.
Sure. I think for animation, one thing that is very different, at least I think, from designing for video games, is that in animation you have to be very careful in knowing what type of animation are you doing it for, what's the message for that specific project, is it what's intended audience, and you have to be very economical and very strategic with the shape language. With it, like, for example, if it's like to be 2D animated, it's very different than what the type of portfolio or the type of designs that you would be doing for something that's to be animated in 3D. right? Because if it's going to be 2D, you don't want to drive your animators crazy by adding a ton of detail. But if you're doing concept or character design for a game, like you can actually go more complex, right? A lot more complex. And I think in animation, especially because it's so much more story driven, generally speaking, not always, you have to be careful with not adding too much detail into the characters. That's going to distract from the character being the one element that carries the story through, I think.
I'll say adding to that, because all those are great. I think understanding what type of animation you want to do. Like, is it, I mean, some people forget it. Is it for preschool, or is it for, what age genre you want to do your animations for, or get into the animation field? Another thing is, like, from my understanding from animation in games, you want your characters to look cool. So you're going to over design them. You're going to, they're going to have crazy weapons that technically no one could hold. but it looks cool. Or the cat, the magic user, like you want everything to look magical and over the top. But with animation, you don't want your 2D animators to be very upset with you for designing something with all the bells and whistles. So understanding that part of like what industry you want to actually get into, then as it was said before, then you would go in and like, okay, look at the portfolios of people that work with the companies that you want to work for, or work on the projects that you thought was amazing. A lot of times too, I always tell students, like, if you haven't already, like after you watch like your favorite movie, look at the credits, look at the people in the departments, like find them. Cause like sometimes, when you're looking for, if you Google concept art portfolios, they're going to give you the same people over and over again, right? But it's some people that are on that in the ending credits that you probably didn't think to Google or look for, and you'll probably see how their portfolios are. So it's a lot of research for that, either 2D or 2D, 3D or games. So my takeaway from that would basically be first find out what type of animation or games that you want to do first. And then Cyberstock, I think it was mentioned earlier. And also Cyberstock, as well as take a look at those end credits. Like a lot of people have a portfolio that you probably don't know about because whatever algorithm Google's on, they only show you the same couple of people.
I just agree with whatever's been said so far. It's been good.
Yeah, I think in my experience, if you do character design, you can do character design for anything. You just adapt. So I think it will be better to just decide, do I want to do props? Do I want to do environments? Do I want to do characters? And you can do a little bit of everything, but your portfolio should have a clear focus, or you can just have like two different portfolios, one that's more like centered in characters or one that's more centered in environments. And just for video games people, I remember my husband Francisco, he works in foundations, but he really loves games and he really wanted to get into games. Like his dream studio was Naughty Dog, and he got like all the art books of like The Last of Us, all of that, and then we'll compare the work on the Last of Us art book versus what the artists had in their portfolios. You guys, they will work on the characters after they were submitted for work. Like what they actually do and what they put in the art books of, it's way more rough than what you see in a lot of the portfolios. I don't want to say it's cheating, but like if you were actually thinking about the time that they have to turn in all of that, it's always way more rough. So don't be fooled by like what people post as their portfolio, because sometimes it's like they have more time to work on it after. And just decide.
I use a lot of 3D as well.
And I guess for video game, it will be, you definitely want to put 3D in there. And what I see from my colleagues is, I think for animation, it's more welcoming to have a little bit of everything. And for video games, I think it's like you just have like a character and the turnaround, just like different views and like materials, textures, props, and you just turn them all around. And for animation, it's a little bit more of like maybe cinematic moments and like characters interacting with environments. Yeah.
One tiny little piece of advice is if you don't have animals in your portfolio, add them. Whether you're doing for game or for animation, like animals, like I think are unavoidable. So if you're uncomfortable with quadrupeds or creature design or the locomotion of them or the animation of them, take a class that makes you feel more comfortable with it, because at some point I can guarantee that you're going to be tasked with designing animals or creatures.
Yeah, I would say babies too. Yeah, or like little toddlers, because we've all seen that portfolio with like a 2-foot adult person, you know what I mean? And you're like, that's not a baby. Yeah. So proportions are different.
Yeah.
So I wanted to open it up to any last questions.
I was gonna ask, I didn't realize that you switch benefits like your where you're going. But what classes are you best maybe like go with the art or like color scripting or even step design? It's like, I think
For us. Yeah, in 434 you end up with four frames. Students complain a lot that there's not enough time to do 4 finished illustration. But it's like, well, it's what we do, and they are not supposed to be actual finished illustrations, right? It's more concept art and rough. So I think that one, and the one we're taking 326 environment and design, atmospheric and environment design. 326, yeah, those.
Yes, yeah, that one's great for lighting and perspective. Yeah.
Color with intent too, for sure.
I saw that.
I'm but eventually building portfolio center.
Well, Wizards of the Coast kind of has 2 directions, because there's you know, like the cards and books for Dungeons and Dragons stuff where it's finished illustration.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh yes. So you're asking about for something for a company like Wizards of the Coast, but you're an animation major, but you want to cater a portfolio that could work for Wizards of the Coast. Is that? No, you're good.
I kind of want to give.
Yeah, so there is, I mean, they do hire concept artists as well, and they're also investing more in game studios. So you can kind of overlap, have more quicker concept art style stuff. You just want to really nail like figure drawing, a design of costumes and armor. So there's a level of not it can be stylized, but a level of realism that they look for in general with their stuff. But they do hire a lot of concept artists too. I've had friends that work in film, and I'm like so excited to be working on my magic cards, but there's like, oh, I have a magic card due. I'm going to do it for fun over the weekend after working on the Superman movie or whatever, But so there's a lot of different styles they do hire too. So yeah, hopefully that helps.
So, I mean, you can think of like Wizards as, I mean, everybody's aware of Wizards of the Coast because it's like one of the biggest, or at least most well-known company in gaming. But there's so many other gaming companies, right? Yeah. So they can only hire so many people. That's all there's to it. It's just like exactly. So I've actually done a lot of work in board games and role-playing games that I have worked for Wizards, but I've worked for other companies way more. So there's a lot of competition. I would suggest like building a portfolio, again, that has those fundamental skills of design, anatomy, even in a stylized way. So it could be in like an animated stylized way. But then there's conventions all across the country specific for gaming. So Dragon Con in Atlanta is very close. Gen Con in Indianapolis is the biggest gaming convention. And then you have like PAX East, PAX West. And just showing your portfolio around, because you can go up to any game studio and say, is there an art director here looking at portfolios? And they either are or they're not, but you'd be surprised how many of them are like, yeah, I'll take a look at it. And then you just make contacts that way. Now, I understand if you can't travel to all of these different conventions, but you can do very similar things like finding out look at the credits of the games, right? Again, find out, do they have an online presence? Communicate with them, and then make sure that what you have online is the best, most well-represented work that you have currently, and just continue to update that. Because you can do that similar networking online. It's just a little harder to be as personal as if you're in person at a convention. But there's so many companies looking to hire for board games, especially, is absolutely booming. I mean, from Kickstarter and various crowdfunding options, and then new startup publishers. Yeah, there's a lot of work out there for board games, especially deck building games, that kind of stuff. Okay.
Thank you so much for all being here. I really appreciate you taking your time to come all the way to Adler Hall. Well, some of you kind of live here already, but yeah, I know it's a hike for some of you guys. But thank you guys so much again for answering all of our questions and for spending your time with us. Thank you. Everyone clap.
And I'll post their emails over to the Discord. So if you want to email them or Outlook them, feel free to, because they're great people. So do that.